Good afternoon. 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 And many more. Hello, 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 and welcome to Daring Dialogues. I'm your host today, Shante Charles, and it is Wednesday. It's Wisdom Wednesday, it's Relationship Wednesday, and it's also Black History Month. And as you know, we have been reading about many icons, those seen, those that we know, and sometimes those that we don't know as well. And we're going to choose one of those today. I am reading from, before we get into our regular reading, I'm reading from Illustrated Black History, Honoring the Iconic and Unseen. And today's person is Scipio Moorhead. Scipio Moorhead. And I like the way that this illustrator and author is going about doing these various drawings on different persons. I love the feel of this. It appears to be probably acrylic paint. And I love the line work that they have going on in this particular drawing. So let's learn a little bit about Scipio, Scipio, Scipio Moorhead. And good afternoon. He was born in the 1770s. Phyllis Wheatley said this: "When first thy pencil did those beauties give, and breathing figures learnt from thee to live." Not much is known about the Boston portrait artist Scipio Moorhead. We glean insight into his talent and skill from a work commonly attributed to him by scholars, the iconic engraved portrait of Phyllis Wheatley, a popular late 18th century U.S. poet. She had been enslaved in a household headed by a tailor named John Wheatley, who had purchased her soon after she was taken from Senegambia. She worked as a domestic but was taught to read and write. Her poetry was distributed in England first, then in New England. At the request of a bookseller in London, a portrait was commissioned to accompany her collection, Poems on Various Subjects. That artist was Moorhead, who was enslaved to Reverend John Moorhead, who lived near the Wheatleys. It's believed that Wheatley and Moorhead knew each other, since the book included a poem titled To S.M., a young African painter, on seeing his works. From Wheatley's poem, it's easy to see that Moorhead's artistry was valued by many, and that they shared a meaningful connection. Now, let's take a look at the poem that Phyllis Wheatley wrote to this young African artist. It says, "To show the laboring bosom's deep intent, and thought in living characters to paint, when first thy pencil did those beauties give, and breathing figures learnt from thee to live. How did those prospects give my soul delight, a new creation rushing on my sight? Still wondrous youth, each noble path pursue, on deathless glories fix thine ardent view. Still may the painter's and the poet's fire to aid thy pencil and thy verse conspire. And may the charms of each seraphic theme conduct thy footsteps to immortal fame. High to the blissful wonders of the skies, elate thy soul and raise thy wishful eyes. Thrice happy when exalted to survey that splendid city crowned with endless day, whose twice six gates on radiant hinges ring. Celestial Salem blooms in endless spring. Calm and serene thy moments glide along, and may the muse inspire each future song. Still with the sweets of contemplation blessed, may peace with balmy wings your soul invest. But when these shades of time are chased away, and darkness ends in everlasting day, oh, what seraphic pinions shall we move, and view the landscapes in the realms above? There shall thy tongue in heavenly murmurs flow, and there thy muse with heavenly transport glow. No more to tell of Damon's tender sighs, or rising radiance of Aurora's eyes. For nobler themes demand a nobler strain, and purer language on the ethereal plane. Cease, gentle muse, the solemn gloom of night now seals the fair creation from my sight. I think that's really, really powerful that this artist, who we only know him because of Phyllis Wheatley's poem about him and his portrait of Phyllis Wheatley, those are really the only two significant things that we have about him. But I find it very powerful that even back in that time when he was enslaved, here comes Phyllis Wheatley, a Black woman poet who has been given sort of a measure of spotlight, really, because she was taken around and she was um, they had this idea called uplift suasion, meaning that if they could show Black people in a positive light, in an intelligent light, that people would see through examples like Phyllis Wheatley that these people were human, right? There was a point where Phyllis Wheatley was put on trial about her intelligence and what she knew and how she knew it. And the fact that even with everything that was going on with her as a person, she as an artist chooses to take her art form and to memorialize and put into memory, right, another unknown artist is pretty powerful. We could signify this as one of the historical examples of quote unquote putting somebody on, because here it is hundreds of years later and we are reading about him. We're learning about Scipio Moorhead through the poetry works of Phyllis Wheatley. Otherwise, he would possibly be lost to time. Um, we know, according to historical documents, that his name is on the portrait of her for her work, but outside of that, there's not much more to be said about him. And the fact that had we not had him sort of immortalized through her poem, we wouldn't have known that that name on the back of the portrait or the front of the portrait was this enslaved person. So I think it's very, very powerful that she takes space and she makes room for this artist that could have been lost to the annals of time. But she takes time to write a poem about him, to write a poem about his artistry, and brings him into the future with her. I think that's very, very powerful. All right. And so I see we have people who should not be in this space, because if you don't like Black people and you don't like Black women and you don't like Black history, this is probably not the space for you. All right. So that was our Black History moment, Scipio Moorhead. And I want to show you, before we move on, I want to show you the portrait that they are referring to of Phyllis Wheatley. So let me go to my tablet here, Phyllis Wheatley. Bum, 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 bum. And let me type in Scipio. Okay. And again, most people have seen this portrait. And this is his work. So that is Scipio Moorhead's work. And very, very, very powerful indeed. He has captured her essence. She's sitting in thought and contemplation, and this is an engraving. So this is not just a drawing. If you know anything about art and engraving, this is pretty detailed. It's a 3x5 oval engraving print created in 1773. Um, and the writing on it reads, Phyllis Wheatley, Negro servant to Mr. John Wheatley of Boston. Pretty powerful. All right, let's get into our reading for today, which is all about relationships. We've been reading from 2 books, but we're only going to cover one today. And we are talking about, let's see, where should we go today? Let's stick with children today. We're just going to cover children because I want to make sure I have time for conversation. And Pastor Ben, I see you. We're reading from the book Dramafree, and we are actually nearing the end of the book. It is a guide to managing unhealthy family relationships, and this topic is about troubleshooting relationships with children. We talked about the common errors that parents make when their children are young, lying to them, not admitting that you too can be wrong, parenting every child the same way, blaming a child for things that were not their responsibility. So today, let's talk about early bonding with children and how divorce and breakups can change relationships for both young and adult children. We aren't going to get through all of the parts of the topics on this today. We might. Let's try. Early bonding. Both mothers and fathers benefit from forming early attachments to their children. So not just mothers, not just handing the child off to the mother and saying, here, 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 but mothers and fathers benefit from early attachments to their children. When parents live separately, the bond with the parent who lives outside the home can be hindered. Mental health, substance misuse, and the relationships parents have with each other can all affect the initial bond between parents and children. If a parent is emotionally detached, withdrawn, or struggling, those issues can harm the parent-child bond. How we start isn't how we have to finish, but some parents find it difficult to recover from this early damage, which may continue into adulthood. Jessica was conceived after her mother had a few casual encounters. When her father found out about the pregnancy, he agreed to be present, but then he moved to another state after she was born. Whenever Jessica visited with her father, she felt as though she were in the company of a stranger. The relationship felt awkward, and she struggled to force a connection. It's possible to stay connected to a child who lives in a separate home, but the parent must make an effort to stay involved in the child's day-to-day life. Close relationships are built over time. If parents want a close relationship with their adult children, it's important to build the foundation early. Keyword there is early. Divorce and breakup changes relationships for both young adults and children. Even if a parental breakup happens when the child is an adult, it's usually painful. I include breakups with non-biological parents because children become attached to step-parents and significant others who played a role in their life. As a parent, you play a crucial role in how your breakups are handled. The best practice is for both partners to discuss the ending of the relationship with the children, reassuring them that it isn't their fault, talking about how the family will function going forward. A typical child experiences trauma after breakups for the following reasons. So these are a few reasons why children might experience trauma after you break up. First of all, the parents are grieving and become more withdrawn. When a parent goes through a breakup, they may retreat from the family. However, children continue to need parenting despite what their parents might be experiencing mentally and emotionally. Number two, the parent becomes angry at their ex. The hope is that all partnerships will last, but when they don't, some parties become angry toward the other. Leaving a partner doesn't necessarily mean leaving a child, however. Children, both young and adult, are often placed in the middle of parental disputes. In some cases, parents vent their frustrations about their partner, trying to intentionally or sometimes unintentionally push the child to take sides. Children of any age are not a healthy emotional outlet for a parent's relationship frustrations. Parents must take care not to let their feelings about their ex corrupt the feelings of their child. A parent's anger can often get in the way of the child's relationship with the shunned partner, which can be very harmful for the child. I commonly see adult children struggle emotionally when their parents have to be in the same room together. When a parent is hurting, it can be hard to contain those feelings, yet it is necessary for the children to have healthy relationships with their parents despite any co-parenting issues. Thirdly, the parents lean too much on the children for emotional support. Children are not emotionally equipped to handle their feelings around a parent's relationship with the other parent. Let me say it one more time. Children are not emotionally equipped to handle their feelings around a parent's relationship with the other parent. When a partner has been abusive to both the parent and the child, however, sharing about those experiences may help a child feel less alone. Harmful disclosures might sound like the following: your mother is a tramp, and she cheated on me throughout our entire relationship. Your father doesn't consider anyone but himself. Your mother is lazy and won't ever figure her life out. Those are all harmful disclosures being made to a child. Some helpful closures, though, might sound like the following: I can see how your mother's relationships impact you. It can be challenging to talk to your dad, and I wonder if he knows that about himself. I, too, hope your parent figures out what's next. Another one, the family's financial resources shift. This is probably the biggest one right now for a lot of people. Post breakup, financial shifts may be uncontrollable, and this financial insecurity can affect the child's sense of safety. Families might need to move into a smaller space or stay with relatives, or a parent might need financial support from their adult child. These significant changes can be yet another unintended result of a breakup, one that affects the whole family. Here's another one. The children become more responsible in the home. When partnerships end, children might take on the role of the spouse or more responsibilities at home. Dad may no longer be around to pick up a younger sibling after school, so the older sibling might have to take over that job. Notwithstanding a child's willingness to accommodate the family, the child might resent their parents for this shift in duties. Two more. Parents focusing on their feelings and neglecting to check in with their children. Children are feeling something even when they seem okay. Following a breakup, children need parents to check in on them. When a child says they are okay or fine, is an opportunity for the parent to dig deeper. Change is always hard and requires emotional processing, even for children. And finally, the family unit has been changed forever. Living happily ever after isn't a reality for all partnerships. Both children and parents grieve the loss of the relationship and what life could have been like if it had worked out. Parents shouldn't ignore that a breakup feels like grief, not only to them, but also to their children as well. And I think it's important, especially for people who are choosing to get into multiple relationships, especially within a couple of years' time, right? And these relationships continue to end. I think it's important for the adult to recognize how those consistent breakups are also impacting their children. Um, you might be saying, I'll get another partner, or, it doesn't really matter to me. But if you have been bringing these people around your children, or if you have a live-in situation, um, that child is now having to readjust every time you go through a breakup. And I don't think that enough adults take that into account. So finally, let's look at one part of the next section here, which is repairing the damage. Repairing the damage. First thing you want to start with is forgiving yourself. Pity parenting is the source of many codependent relationships. Parents will make mistakes. You are human. It happens. So forgive yourself for not knowing better or for not making better choices. Don't just focus on what you didn't do well. Praise yourself for what you did well. And the most important thing is building on your strengths as a parent going forward. Develop more empathy. Compassion is the key to becoming a better parent. Parents can develop compassion by considering their feelings, considering their children's feelings, and understanding themselves, including how they experience life as a child, including going back and reviewing the relationships that do not work and asking yourself, what was I doing in those relationships and why they are not working? Adults are experts on childhood because they all had one. Tap into what it was like to experience your changes at certain ages, and you will better understand how your own children feel. Understand your own childhood. Stop parenting just out of habit. Some things your parents did for you might have been helpful, while other things they did were not. Don't repeat parenting patterns that weren't helpful or healthy for you. Consider how you felt about the parenting pattern that you are getting ready to enact on your children. Be open to considering new ways instead of saying things like, well, that's how it was for me and you have to do it too. Times have changed and so should your parenting methods. So I'm going to stop there for today. She's got a couple more recommendations, but I think this is an important point about bonding with your children early. Now, I will say that there is a quite nefarious plan getting ready to roll out and unfold if it is not stopped by midterms, and that is called the Esther Project. I encourage people to go and read up on the Esther Project. It is a continuation of Project 2025, but it is very Handmaid's Tale, if you're familiar with that. It's very Handmaid's Tale in nature, while pretending to be a method of solving issues with American families. And the more that you get into the document, the more that you take a look at it, you realize that they are only considering a very small segment of the population based on the parameters that they've made around, quote unquote, saving America's families. They're primarily talking about white families. They're primarily talking about white single women. And it's very, very, very concerning. Again, I don't want to get into all the details because there are other people that are breaking it down, but it's called the Esther Project. You do want to pay attention to what this government's idea of family is going to look like in the future. They're considering things like marriage boot camp, and it's really supposed to be geared towards single people and sort of giving an incentive for people to just get married. Same thing with childbearing. There's some incentives to childbearing and the number of children you have, but then there are all of these, how do we call it, loopholes into what happens if your relationship doesn't work out or it's not structured in the way that this government system stuff wants. So it's not all, oh, they're just going to help us, they want to benefit us. No, there are some very interesting guidelines that are anti-Black, that are anti any other kind of family that's not the quote unquote traditional family as laid out by them. So be thinking about that. If you have not checked it out, look up Project Esther. You should be able to find the PDF. It's about 50 something pages. Download it, check it out, read it, and then ask yourself, is this really about building families, or is this about something altogether different? All right, we have got about 10 minutes here. Pastor Ben, if you are still there, I'm going to send you the link to join me. All right, and I have sent the link out, so hopefully, if you are still here, I don't see comments. I see your good afternoon, but okay. So you should have that link. Hopefully, you'll be able to join me, and we can have some conversation around what happens when parents decide to no longer be together, and what happens to the child in all of that, or the children in all of that. How do you navigate that is what we were reading today. And making sure you have empathy for yourself when that relationship doesn't work out. Making sure you're paying attention to how your children are responding to that relationship not working out. And there we go. All right. Good afternoon. All right, your sound and your video are a little bit choppy, but it's okay. We're gonna wait for it to straighten out here.
What was that?
I say your sound and your video are a little bit choppy as far as internet
Oh,
connection.
okay. It's got to be the area that I'm in.
Probably. All right, go ahead.
Okay. I want to talk about first thing that you discussed. What's her name?
Phyllis Wheatley and
Um,
Scipio Moorhead, the artist.
Actually, Phyllis Wheatley.
Okay, Phyllis Wheatley. Okay.
Yeah, I want to talk about her a little bit because she was. I mean, this story was actually a blueprint of what we should be following.
Mm,
Which, like table talk, yeah, you pretty much follow that blueprint.
I try.
Black people black people who may have been forgotten or people may not have known much about and their impact on things. You know, that's what we do at Black Table Talk. But that was for me that was great
Mm-hmm.
because here we are. We have an artist, a
Mm-hmm.
male artist that she knew about that not many people knew about, and as you say, she put him on.
Mm-hmm.
She made sure people knew about it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's and a time that we're living in right now where people are actually trying to our own people are being complicit in actually erasing our history.
Isn't that terrible?
Like I keep hearing these things about well, it was the Republican Party that freed the slaves and da 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 da. The Democrats they're slave, they're racist and stuff. And I'm like, okay, which party is erasing our history?
Mm-hmm.
Which party is going against everything that they label black?
Which party is taking down
Which
memorials in
party
public
did
places?
what's
Which party is taking down memorials in public places?
exactly which party did Strom Thurmond go to? That was the racist of races in the Dixiecrat Party. He went over to didn't he go over to the Republican Party
Mm-hmm.
and take a bunch of them with him,
Mm-hmm.
and they took over the party.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that is the history that many of our people are trying to help erase. So, so you know, it's like don't don't come with half a story. Come with the whole story,
Yes.
which somehow it appears that it's deliberate because I keep hearing these people repeat this. I've already addressed it. I've given you the information. Go look it up.
Yeah.
It's that simple.
I mean, it is deliberate. I like you already
Hmm.
know, I spent 20 years as a part of the Republican Party, so I know their talking points.
True.
I know
Yeah,
their
you did.
talking points. And part of their talking points is, well, Frederick Douglass was a Republican, Martin Luther King was a Republican, but what was
Hmm.
going on during that time that made them Republicans? It's definitely not what y'all doing
Hmm.
today. Let's be clear.
Mm-mm.
It has nothing to do with what you all are doing today. Um, Today's party, they would definitely be either independent or Democrats. That's for sure, because they were
Hmm.
not down for what you all are doing. So I'm like, miss me with that. Miss me with that. Um, and we know that there were black Republicans. This was before the 1877 compromise. So yeah, there were black Republicans when the party was about freedom for all. That's not the case right now. The
Yep.
party right now has been taken over by Yahtzees, and we all know what that rhymes with. It's been taken over by the far right. It's been
Hmm.
taken over by nationalists who who think that nationalism
Hmm.
only pertains to white people. So that is what is leading the
Hmm.
party, and you can't keep trying to hinge what you're saying to people on how the party operated
Right.
in the past. The question is, how are they operating now? Right now, they are showing themselves to be anti-woman. They're showing themselves to be
Hmm.
anti-black. They're showing themselves to be anti-children. They are providing cover for a 34-time felon slash PDF file. So that's what
Hmm.
the party is showing itself to be now. So you can't expect people to close their eyes and picture what the party was in the past and ignore what the party is currently doing.
But that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to they keep pointing in that direction. Well, see, this is what we did under Lincoln. Not about what we did after the civil rights uh, bill was passed,
Right, right.
and especially what they've done the past 10, 12 years.
And the reality
Well, let's
is
go back.
ever since the civil rights bills were passed, they have always been working on a plan to turn back the hand of time.
Hmm.
They have never stopped working on that plan. It's just that now they have enough people in places of power to start turning the wheels on the plan they've always been working on since the 1950s. This is not a
Hmm.
new plan. This is why I keep telling people, um, and I don't have it at my fingertips right now, but I have a book on it about when they were, like, literally right when they were making all of these decisions. They were writing essays about it. They were talking about their plans. And so this is not Project 2025, even is not new. It's them creating a specific strategy around how they will accomplish what they've always wanted to accomplish.
Hmm.
So when people say, "Oh, I look at Project 2025, I can't believe they want to do all this stuff." I'm like, they've been wanted to do it. This has always been the plan. You just got a insight into their specific strategies on how to execute it. That's what Project 2025 is. It's the execution plan for what they always intended. They never intended
Hmm.
an equal and free society for everybody. They never intended for women, particularly white women, to have power outside of the power they give them or the power of their home. They never intended that.
Hmm.
They've always resented the feminist movement. This has always
Yeah.
been the case. It's not new. So I just wanted to make that clear. Final thoughts today, because I got to roll.
Okay. Yeah. But this is we need to wake up. I want to just one thing real quick, and I'm out. As I've said many times, my children, my relationship with them, as children, I gave them power to speak what they felt, but do it respectfully.
Mm-hmm.
I never said anything negative about their mom. They didn't find out about the negative stuff until just a few years ago, and they're over 40. I ate that. Somebody else told them, and then they came to me. So parenting is more than just you're my child, you do what I say do. Giving them a little bit of adulthood when they're young. I'm done.
I think that's a good lesson for all of us. As one who works with children for the past 26 years, I always remember I used to keep a little picture of myself when I was a child on my desk, and I kept it there. And the students would come by and say, "Who's that little girl on your desk?" And I say, "That little girl is me. That little girl is me because I want to remind myself of that child that I was and how that child felt in any case." And so I think part of it is remembering our own childhood, as the writer said, and then also
Hmm.
understanding, like you said, they are little human beings, they are little people, and we've got to give them the tools to be successful. We don't throw all the tools at them at the same time. When you're learning a skill, just like a mechanic, you don't throw all the tools at a mechanic at the same time. You teach them how to use each tool in the toolbox.
Hmm.
And so a lot of what parenting is teaching your children how to use the tools in the toolbox. And that requires patience. And some people don't have a lot of it.
True.
And so if you know you lack patience, you might want to think twice about bringing a child into this world because you're going to need patience. You're going to need it. All right. Thank you for your time and
Hmm.
attention. This has been another episode of Daring Dialogues. I've been your host today, Shante Charles, and Pastor Ben has been right here co hosting with us. Remember, light is the most daring opposition to evil. So go out and be what?
Light.
Light. Take care, everyone. Be well, and most importantly, be light. Tomorrow we'll be back with a full segment. Take care.